Hey, digital makers. Welcome to another one of the Digital Making at Home live streams from Raspberry Pi. I'm here today with my sidekick, Christina. How you doing, Christina?
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing? It's good to
Yeah,
see you.
really good. Yeah, thanks. Christina's sort of like, she's here to help keep order, I guess, and make sure that we don't forget anything and maintain comments and talk to people who are coming in off the internet and stuff like that. So it's nice to see you. It's great to have you here from the beginning. It's really good, actually, this week. I'm really enjoying having someone else here to like co-host with you.
Yeah, it's fun. Yep, I've been in behind the scenes for folks watching. I've been behind the scenes and checking in on all of you. So definitely let us know where you're joining us from. I'm based in the USA. Specifically, I'm in the Midwest in a state called Nebraska. And where are you, Mr. C? Let folks
I'm
know.
in Cambridge, so
Okay.
I'm in England, headquarters Raspberry Pi, sort of just up the road, coming to you live from sort of the streaming studio here at my place here. So like we've got a few different time zones at the moment as well. We've got someone coming in from Ireland later today. We've got Fiona coming over from Ireland, and we've got Magda as well on today. So we're talking about build the web this week as our theme, right? And we saw your amazing Matrix video earlier this week.
Thank you. 12-year-old me was very excited by that experience.
Cool. That was really cool. You shot that with a green screen, eh? You've got a green screen in place.
Yep.
Amazing. Yeah, they're fun to play with.
Yeah.
That's
awesome. It's been a couple months, a summer of creativity, I feel like here, which has been really neat. I've been in space. I've been in the Matrix. So you've been in the ocean.
Yeah, in the jungle.
Yes. Oh, that was really fun.
And so this week we're building the web, right? So we're inside the Matrix, which is really cool. And I think it's really nice that we've got some amazing guests this week that can come and talk about those things, right? So we've got Fiona, who made a website for Coolest Projects, which is super duper cool. And we've also got Magda, who sort of is a software engineer, and she makes the websites and things for Raspberry Pi as well, right? It's like she's a hardcore programmer, so that's really awesome. Should we get Magda in to have a chat? Should we bring her on?
Yeah, and hi, Magda.
Hello, hello. I'm Magda and speaking about different time zones. Hello from Poland, because I am spending my holiday in Poland. So yeah, I am in a different time zone, 1 hour ahead of you, like ahead of you, Mark, not Christina, because I have no idea what's time at your place. So yeah. Hello.
Neither do I. It's early. Yeah, we have some folks from. I see some from Canada. I see some from Zimbabwe. We've got England. We've got Tunisia. This is really Belgium. Hello, thank you all so much for joining us. Missouri, America, thanks for joining.
Awesome. Yeah, people from all over the world. That's super duper cool. And I think that's almost something that ties this web like development week together, right? Because the web is universal, right? It's absolutely everywhere. And the idea that we can come together on something that somebody made on the internet with code so that we can all talk to each other and talk to other people and help them make more stuff. Like that's marginally mind-blowing, I think. Do you know what I mean? That we have all these things that connect everybody around the world. So we can have this awesome chat with you, Magda, while you're sitting in Poland. And I'm in England, Christina's in America. Yeah, it's wild.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers to
that. Time zones.
Yeah. Awesome. So Magda, you work for Raspberry Pi and you are a programmer, right? Like at the core of it, you write code. Like that's what you do all day. And I think that's amazing, right? Like some people paint, other people write, and like you produce stuff that computers can interpret into amazing things. Like, what does a general day look like for you at your job?
So my general day look like that I am making a code, but I am also a lot of breaking the code as well, which is actually part of the process, because like it's very important when you are a programmer to actually be able to understand what's going on. And also to understand what was the issue that you already add to the project. So yeah, we have a lot of bugs. Like it's like a day-to-day work. So it's not like that you are building cool features, but you're also trying to understand why something is not working for different users. So that's actually part of the job. Sometimes it's frustrating, sometimes it's challenging, but it's actually the beauty of being a programmer. So that's my like a day-to-day work. And I build a lot of websites, which is great. We also do a lot of testing those pages to make sure that the same page look the same for different users across the whole world, like you mentioned, Mark, before. And also what I do, I am also a big fan of accessibility, which means that the website that we are doing and making on a daily basis, they are accessible to all. Like if we have a user that they have like a different kind of disabilities, like for example, they need to use a screen readers. We just want to make sure that they can access our websites despite the disabilities they might be having.
That must be quite tricky to think about the broad range of needs of all the different kinds of people when you're trying to make like a specific thing. How do you go about making sure that you're covering all those needs when you're looking at accessibility?
It's actually very complicated topic because accessibility is something that spans across the whole application. So accessibility is not only the code you write, like, so from a developer perspective, you need to make sure that you can navigate the page only using a keyboard, not using a mouse, because there is a lot of people that they can't actually use a mouse. So that's like something that I need to think as a developer. But there is also a lot of stuff that come to the design. So for example, we need to keep the contrast ratio on a high level, which basically means that you can read something that it's put on a different background. So there's like a design, development, and there is something that it's very important to understand when it comes to the content, because if we try to use very complicated language, it might be very difficult for some user to actually understand what we try to communicate. I am not a native speaker, so for me personally, it's actually very important to actually understand the content that you are trying to put on the website. So yeah, so basically like accessibility is actually across the whole application, from the way the application look like to the way to the content that we are trying to communicate to our users. So that's why it's also so complicated, because it's not like a one issue you can tackle or solve and then you will be able to say that, okay, I am like a great and I done my work perfectly.
Yeah, definitely. And is that a multi-stage process then? So like you would write all the stuff and then check it, and then check it again and check it again and go through.
Yeah, it's like a multi-stage process, and there's a lot of tools that you can add to the application and actually check it. But there is not a single tool that you can use to tackle all those issues. So it basically means that when I build a new feature, I need to use at least like 3 different tools, like a browser extension to check what kind of issues I might be having on this specific feature. But except that, it's also like thinking about the end user, like for example, when it comes to the language itself. So just to make sure that we are using like a simple language to address everyone.
That's cool.
Wow. I'm so grateful that you're on the team, Magda, and you're thinking about these things, right? Because I think that's, we need folks to be thinking about accessibility, especially if you're able to go on a website, you don't naturally think about folks that may need more resources and more support. And is that something that you always thought of when you first came into your career, or something that was from how did that desire to support
actually not really, because when I start to learn how to code, I was always almost 30. So I was like so keen to actually start writing out code. So now when I check my old project, I think, oh my God, like why or how I done something that way. But when I grew a developer, I just started reading more like about the accessibility itself. And the shocking fact for me was like something that bring my attention and stayed with me actually forever, was to actually understand that almost 20 or over 20% of users based in UK, but those numbers you can actually use on other part of the world, have different kind of disabilities. So it means like every 5th internet user might be having some issues accessing websites that they are not following accessibility standards. So, and because I am like a very big fan of diversity in general, because like I mentioned before, I get into coding when I was 30. So like the learning curve for myself was like very steep, because I had no background at all in computing. And also it's harder for women to get into tech. And I think like thinking about accessibility, it's like an extra level of diversity, of inclusivity in general, because we just want to make sure that we are bringing more developers into tech, but also bringing more users that they can actually access our products. Because like I said, it's like a 20% of human beings that might be having some issues. And I think that number is very high. And this number might be increasing because for example, older people, they might be having issues accessing our website, not being able to use a mouse, or not being able to access a video when you are sitting in a loud cafe. So it's so important to to have subtitles to every video. So like I said, accessibility is on so many different levels. So it's nice that there's a lot of folks thinking about that, and here at the foundation, we have a few people that they are very interested in accessibility. So we can actually chat on a daily basis and share some ideas, thoughts, and you know, and ideas how to improve it, because it's like ongoing process. It's not like, you know, like you know, like something that you can say that it's done. It's never done.
Yeah. You mentioned, Magda, that you didn't start this journey of coding until you were 30. That's a long, like, that's what was, so I'm curious, we had a question from a community member. What was your major in university? And then and then how did you end up here?
It's like a very funny story, because I used to be a journalist based in Poland, and I used to be a journalist for over 10 years. And then when I graduated from Jagiellonian University in Krakow, I was just looking for something new to learn, and I thought about Italian because I just love Italy, their cuisine and everything. And my boyfriend said that I should start learn how to code, and I was like, nope, there is no way that I can understand. At that time, I had not even, you know, idea how to update my own browser, so I had like a zero knowledge about computers in general. I could actually, you know, use computer to, you know, to use some, you know, browsing engine, and that's it. So I started with Python book, which was like a very, very intense. And after 6 months of trying to understand what I am even trying to read, and I forget to mention that when I started learning how to code, I wasn't speaking English. So it was very hard to actually understand the book itself, like, because it was written like a, you know, like in a technical language. So I almost give up, and then I learned that there's like a workshop based in Krakow about HTML, and I had no idea what's the difference between HTML and the Python itself, but that was like a free event for girls only. So I said to my boyfriend, okay, I will go there, but this is the last ever time that I am trying to do anything with a computer, because I was like feeling stupid, like, because I couldn't actually understand it at all. And I went there, and I just get in love with the HTML. And that was the first ever time that I was actually able to force my computer to do something I wanted. So I was able to display the page I made with, you know, few divs. And I was so happy, because that was like a page about cats, of course. And after this, I just started doing like some internet online learning, like, you know, tutorials, workshops and stuff like that. And after some time, I just realized that when I am sitting at work, because I was working as a radio journalist in a newsroom, so there was like always something going on, like, you know, like any kind of different, you know, news going in the between. And then I realized that actually I keep thinking like how I can solve the issue that I had like yesterday evening in HTML, then thinking about another news that I should bring to, you know, to my to people that they are listening to the radio. And then I thought, okay, it means like maybe that's the time when I actually start thinking about switching career. And that was tough, because like I said, I need to learn more about English in general to be able to, you know, follow all those documentations and everything. But I would never get, you know, like change my mind.
Yeah.
Even that though, like coming back to the inclusivity and like accessibility idea, like you don't think being a native English speaker that all the documentation is in English, and like the language itself, Python, like here in the UK and Australia and America, they teach Python very early on because it's readable. Yeah, it's readable if you speak English.
Yes.
Because it's all written in English, right? And that's a whole other level of like difficulty and abstraction for people to try and learn that language. Like, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced coming across that sort of thing, Magda?
I think the biggest thing was actually my my way of thinking, because every time when I encounter any kind of issue, like for example, I would like to add a new tiny feature to my page because I started building some websites on my own. So every time when I had any kind of issue, I would just give up. So I would need like a 1 day, 2 days, 3 days to just, you know, recover from the idea that I can solve it on my own. And I was learning on my own. So there was no one who would tell like, okay, don't give up, you know, don't give up and go on. Of course, I had the boyfriend I mentioned before, but still I was thinking like, it's too late for me. It's not for me because I can't understand, and it's so easy for other people to, you know, to pick up this specific thing. So solving problem and being persistent in learning, it's something that was like the hardest bit to understand, because of course, like you can understand the documentation, you can read, you can ask, you know, like you can ask a technical question on a, you know, different platforms that they are supportive for developers. But still, if you don't have this challenging mind that you want to overcome an issue, it's really hard to actually move forward. And I forget to mention that I am also dojo volunteer, which basically means that I am learning kids how to code. And there is like a very nice dojo base in London, Richmond, London. And that's something that I observe teaching kids, that it's really hard for them to actually keep doing the same tutorial when they have like a different kind of issues. Like, for example, we are doing Python tutorials, and we have some kind of error and the application is not working anymore. So most of kids would just say, okay, let's start something new. Like, I don't want to learn Python anymore. And even though there's like a age gap between us, like I was like almost 30 when I started learning, and they're like 10 when they are trying to give up. But still, I think it's something that it's like a very, very common issue for anyone that try to, to learn something new. And that's like a suggestion or like idea to everyone that try to learn something new. Don't give up. We are all making mistakes.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's so powerful to have you in that space with Dojo. And for anyone watching, we have a program called Coder Dojo, where anyone in the community you can be a software engineer, you can be just a community member and excited about coding. You can start a dojo for kids to learn about coding. I love that you're a mentor and that you do that, Magna. I think it's so powerful for kids to see adults who are like, actually, I don't know this answer, but we're going to figure it out together.
Yeah,
like
and that's something like, because the kids, they treat me as a mentor. So every time when they ask me a question and I don't have answer, I would say, I don't know, but we can find out together. And they would be like, how you don't know if you're a mentor? And I say, okay, but something that it's like a common for us as a human beings, that we don't have answers to everything, but we can find a solution, we can find the answer. And that's actually the most important bit, about being able to actually find a solution, not try to memorize everything, because what's the point of knowing every piece of documentation, for example, for Python, when you can easily use internet and search for the answer. So seeing that you can make a mistake and recover from it, something that it's, I think, very, very important message to send out to kids and to humans in general, because it's something that is hard for all of us.
Yeah, I think folks don't realize that when you first start coding, for me, realizing that you don't have it all memorized. Like, you look it up, and you just got a shout out from Jill for being a great mentor. So
yes, we are working. Yeah, we are volunteering together.
Oh, yay! Shout out to Jill. Thanks for also being a great mentor, Jill.
Yes.
We have a question from Dolores, who was wondering if you do remember what your first Python book was. She was curious.
Yeah, my first book was the Learn Python the Hard Way, and that was like a really hard way for myself, like too hard.
That was the name of the book, Learn Python the Hard Way?
Yeah, Learn Python the Hard Way.
Interesting marketing.
And for some reason that title didn't raise like any suspicion on my part. I was just, okay, that might be like a great book to start with.
Yeah,
it was.
I'd love to ask you about being a female software engineer. I think something you mentioned was just how hard it is for women to come into this space. And I think for me personally, I didn't realize it until I started working here that I had actually never seen any other females in the computer science space. Like, I was lucky to have computer science as a course. It was like middle school, it was like PowerPoint, but like in high school, we had computer science, but all those teachers were male. And then I didn't even think about it in college. But my brother grew up in the same house as me. He ended up being a software engineer, and I didn't. And I realized that so much of it was like, I had never seen a woman like who was a software engineer, who was a computer scientist. And I think I see you, and that's something that's really hit me in the Raspberry Pi Foundation, is seeing so many women who code has been so powerful for me. And for you, I'm wondering, like, did you have a role model? Was there another female, or did you just decide, you know what, I'm going to be that female. I'm going to be that woman in this space.
I don't have like a role model, because when I started doing the coding, that was actually my boyfriend who told me that I should start. And then I went to a few workshops that were like meant to to attract girls only. So I was living in a kind of bubble. So I was going to different kind of workshop based back then in Krakow, because when I started learning to code, I was based in Poland, in Krakow. So I was living in a bubble because there was like so many different girls just coding around. And then I remember my shock when I moved to UK and start attending like a professional conferences, like for example the AWS events. And for some reason, I had these expectations that they are going to be like a plenty of females, and we will have like a different, like a friendly chat. And then to event like one event like that, there was like I don't know, like 6 women in total in like a meeting for 100 people. And then I realized like there is like a huge gap. And I'm not saying like there is a gap between Poland and UK. It's I am just saying that when you attending meetings for women only, you might be thinking that there is so many of us out there.
It's your experience. It's your experience.
Yeah, exactly. But then when I actually tried to enter the market and land my first position, I was actually shocked because the stats are saying that there's like 11% of female developers in general, which those numbers are very, very low. And I think it's wrong. It's wrong like on so many different levels. But I also think it's wrong because if we want to build a application that it's appealing to everyone, like despite their gender, race, religion, and everything, we need to bring up developers with different backgrounds. So then we can make sure that we are building a product or however we want to call it, like website, to everyone, because then we can add something from us. So yeah, I hope that is going to change. And also that's why I decided to become a volunteer. Because there were so many people that helped me on my way to learn how to code. So for me personally, it's like a way to give back to the community, even if it sounds like like I am crazy or something. But I really believe that we should be giving back, and I am super proud that I can be a role model to other young people. Even though it's hard because when I start being a volunteer, I had no idea about Scratch, so I have to learn it a lot, like, to be able to help all those kids. And also, it's also like putting yourself on a spot, because when you are trying to learn someone else, you might, find out that there is a lot of things that you need to improve on your own as well. So it's like a challenging bit as well, but also rewarding, because we have the AstroPi admission every year, and like last year, I am there for over 2 years. So when we started, we had like 2 or 3 admissions from boys, which is great, of course. And I see like those numbers are growing, because it's like my very important bit to actually speak out to those girls and say, maybe you should apply to your code to the AstroPi as well. So last year we had like a 50% of AstroPi admission from my dojo. They were like girls. So I think it's actually just working, that if they see that you can be a female developer as well.
Yeah. And what I'm loving right now, Magda, is just how honest you are, like about just sort of your journey and the growth, and also the piece where you're like, sometimes you just don't know the answers, or for you, it's like, I had to learn Scratch like that. I really appreciate that honesty. I think it's really important, especially for folks that are watching from your homes all over the world, to know that like there isn't one set way and one set person and one set path for how to become a software engineer, and also how to bring it to your community. And I think that's really powerful. Magda mentioned Scratch, which is a really awesome block-based programming language. And what's really neat about that language is that Scratch has built their platform into multiple languages. Yeah, we have someone, thanks Matt, like loves using Scratch because you used with a lot of different languages, which is really neat. So if you're thinking of getting started, I also would recommend it for adults. Like, I think it's great. And also with kids, using Scratch can be a really great tool. And we also have a really neat course that can help you transfer from Scratch to Python, which is awesome. Oh, I see. I have to shout out. I see Ali from Iraq, and I also saw Alex. I saw you, Alex, from Puerto Rico. Thank you so much for joining. Lots of love to you, Alex. So we still have a lot of folks here. Yeah. Oh, and England. Lots of friends. Magda, you're speaking to the world.
So I think, well, we could speak to Ireland, right? Because we've got Fiona here, who's a budding developer herself. And so like having someone on like Magda who can have a chat to her about getting into that space and moving forward and understanding like the pitfalls of getting started and the perspective of being a woman in tech as well. And like you say, Magda, like that's the legacy of tech up until now. It's been made by middle-aged white men, like it just has been. And so inherently the thing that we have that exists as the tech like industry now is built with that history. And I think we can only make it better by opening it to more diverse perspectives and talking to people about that. So let's get the young audience in. So Fiona, are you there?
Hello.
How's it going?
Great. Thanks for having me here.
Oh, it's absolutely our pleasure. Thanks for coming on. Did you have anything that you'd like to ask Magda?
Yes, I did. I had a couple of questions. So I'd like to ask Magda, everyone knows that bugs happen in coding. Anyone who's done coding has had a bug, right? Have you had any strange or funny or interesting bugs in your programming? Or were there any
Yes.
bugs you couldn't solve?
So the bug that I am making like quite often is actually when I am debugging something and I am trying to check like why something is not working. So I am adding a lot of like extra code to the application, and usually I am using like my own name, like let's test it and then Magda. And sometimes I just forget it to take it out, and it's like a quite often thing that when I am getting a review, like when you like submit a new code, it's called a PR. So then there's other developers who need to like review it just to make sure that we are not adding something faulty to the application. And quite often then I am getting feedback like, okay, could you please remove your name from it? Like, so yeah, so I am not that obsessed about myself. It's more just like, like I know that in which part the application is going to, stop, like I would put just my name. So yeah, that's quite common. And another common thing I am doing is typos. Like I said, I am not native speaker, and it's challenging as well. Challenging because quite often I am just like furious about myself, not being able to to pronounce something correctly, or or I can still pronounce my own name in English. So yeah, but who cares? So yeah, so a lot of typos, which is annoying because computers, they have no idea what you try to do when you put a typo in any kind of command. So yeah, that's something that I struggle a lot, but it's I think it's a very common issue across everyone, like any other developers, they are doing exactly the same mistake.
Yes, when I was making my website too, I was often making typos, and if you want to put in a color or whatever and you mistype the name and you're like, why is the color not changing? And then you realize you spelled it wrong again. So
yeah, exactly, again.
yes. So you have to be careful of every single little thing, because computers aren't as good at deciphering what you meant as another human would be. Like, humans can see what you meant when you spell something wrong. The computer takes everything literally, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's really hard, like with the programming language, like like Python, and actually any language that you can use. Like if there's like a typo, it's just not going to work, and the whole application is going to crash. And then you might be spending like ages, hours, or even years trying to investigate what was wrong, and then you would find out that you just put a single typo, and that's it.
So I'd like to ask you another couple of questions too. So I'm curious, do you work from home or do you work in an office when you're doing your job?
Right now, because of the coronavirus situation, we are all working from home, but my whole team is based remotely. So there is people, working across UK, and I am based in UK as well, but right now I am spending my holiday in Poland. So yeah, we are all working remotely. But we are visiting our Cambridge office every month to catch up with the rest of the team. And we have plenty of video calls throughout the day and calls in general, just to make sure that we are, are working together and we are collaborating a lot. And we also do a lot of pair programming, which basically means that one developer shares screen and show what code they have on the screen, and another developer can, spot any kind of issues, or, work together on the same feature, which is great because then we can actually make sure that the code itself is great, and also to share knowledge across the different developers' applications.
Well, that's useful indeed, because you have to make sure that the whole team is coordinated. So I have one last question. What would your message be for any young people who are considering starting coding, or who are already doing coding but might be struggling? Or would you recommend coding as a hobby for children, or that
I would recommend actually to try coding for everyone, for young people, adult people as well. And there is a reason for that. I think the bigger reason for myself is because the usage of different kind of programs is increasing. So we have like a Hoovers that they are using different kind of firmware. We have like a fridge that you can set up and display some kind of notification. So we have like a computer that they are surrounding us from everywhere. And I think being able to understand the process, or actually understand the internet in general, and how important is the security of the internet as well, it's something that it's I would say that it's similar to being able to write and read. So it's like an extra literacy that we can have. So I would recommend everyone to actually try it out, because you never know. Maybe that's something that will, change your life, in terms of, like a career path. But even if you decide not to be a software developer or an engineer, or however you want to call it, it's actually nice to understand the process, because, like I said, the number of computers around us is increasing. So it's important to actually understand the process.
Yeah, indeed, because so many of us use the internet and don't understand what's behind the websites, what put that website there. So even if you weren't going to get a job, I think it would be a great skill to know what's going on. And yes, I think it's a great life skill. So thanks for that, Magda. I don't think I have any more questions.
Thanks for those questions, Fiona.
Thanks, Fiona.
We have a question from, we have a question from Dolores, wondering for the group, what languages do we all use? Dolores asked if we use any other languages besides Python. I mainly use Scratch, but have dabbled in Python and HTML. How about for the rest of you?
Yeah, right now I am writing a lot in Rails. I am using Python from time to time, mostly in my dojo, because kids in my dojo, we have always 3 different sets of tutorials. It's Scratch, HTML, and Python. So we just make sure that I can be, able to help everyone, despite the level they are on. So Rails, Python, a lot of JavaScript as well. Yeah, that's my main focus.
Well, I have had six years of experience with Scratch, and I think Scratch is great. But mostly I use HTML and CSS, and right now I'm dabbling in a bit of JavaScript to try and make my websites more interactive, but I'm still learning with that one.
Awesome.
How about you,
most of the work I do is I do a lot of Scratch work with young people, and heaps of Python. I do loads and loads of Python, because a lot of the stuff that I do at the foundation is for in-person delivery and building silly robots and making toys and things like that. So we do a lot of Python for physical computing. But I'm about to learn some HTML today, which I'm really excited about. And take my first baby steps in HTML, which will be good.
Yes, we're going to learn HTML the hard way.
Yeah.
And we hope you will. Yeah, and we hope you don't fail.
Yeah, I'll be fine. Even if don't worry about it, I'm really good at failing. It's fine. I'm a pro at failing. Yeah, don't worry about that.
I love that.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think talking about that accessibility again, and Scratch and doing multiple languages and bring it out to everybody. And I think one of the really important things for me too is you never know who's going to be amazing at programming. And it's if you didn't sit Mozart in front of a piano when he was 4, you never know what might have happened. Maybe we didn't end up with the Beatles in the 60s, right? Because that chain of events. And so putting young people in front of keyboards and saying make me a thing, what can you get it to do? I think seeing the joy that comes from someone being able to create something like that and understanding something about themselves as well at the end of it, that's the big thing for me. I quite like getting that out there and having people.
I have one thought to add to being pro. Something that was very challenging for me when I started. I was, like I said, almost 30, and I was trying to compare myself to people at my age who would have 10 years of experience. So I had this obsession that I need to become pro, which means I don't know, I should actually applying for a top tech job. And at some point I realized that we don't need everyone to be pro. You can just be good enough, and and then you can be good enough to actually to land a job and be happy about the outcome. And again, it's something that it might be interesting for young people. So you can proceed with your own life with projects, and you don't have to spend 12 hours per day to learn something. You can just spend a little bit of a time and move forward one tiny bit at a time, and it's going to be okay as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love both of those things, especially what you're saying, Mr. C, around just giving folks the chance to try coding, and giving, because I think we need more we need more, Magda was saying, that we're going to have computers now more than ever. Technology is being used, but also needing a diverse set of voices that to approach technology and think about how the number of apps that have been made. What was the perspective? Like you had said, it's a white middle-aged man, a lot of times made apps, made the websites. And so thinking about how can we have more folks have a chance to think about their lived experience and how they can create a app, a website that supports their community and their space. And I think it's really neat, like for Fiona, like you did Coolest Projects,
Yes.
and Coolest Projects is such a neat program that we have here at the foundation where kids can create resources, and you go in and you see things that they're trying to solve problems that you haven't even thought of. And I'm excited for you. I'm not going to say what it is. I'm excited for you to share, Fiona, about your project and what was the problem that you were trying to solve.
And of course, I'm a young teenager. So, of course, I was thinking about things that teenagers might have issues with. And a lot of the time, I think the internet can provide some stress for teenagers. So I was trying to alleviate some of that with my website. And of course, like when you have all adults thinking of ideas for websites, they might not think about things that would be of interest to kids and teenagers. So I think that's where the diversity comes in, that young people can provide a different viewpoint.
Yeah.
So that's what I was thinking about while I was making my website. And my website is designed to provide a calm space for teenagers on the internet, because the internet can get to be quite of a hectic and a negative place sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's a big thing too. Like I often wonder about that, being old enough that I grew up without being on social media all the time. Like the constant pressure of social media for young people must be like very overwhelming in a lot of ways.
Yeah. It was something I saw a lot as a teacher, and then as an admin, like just helping out. Like, to be honest, it was like one of the top like percentage of like behavior like supports that I was trying to navigate. Before we go down that road, Magna, I know Fiona had questions for Magna. Magna, do you have questions for Fiona?
Bring it on.
Yeah, I actually have a few questions. I have a question mostly about, because you mentioned about you being a self-taught, so you actually learned everything from scratch. And I wonder how challenging it was actually to decide what kind of tutorials you will go to follow, or how to exactly choose what to follow to actually learn. Because when you open up internet, there is like a lots of different kind of, books, tutorials, courses, you name it.
Oh, yes. Yes, I think it was important for me to try and find the most reliable and up-to-date tutorials. I looked at tutorials on Raspberry Pi's website. I also looked at W3 Schools, was a great resource for me, I think. They have a lot of information on HTML and CSS programming, and I learned a lot from them. Also, random YouTube tutorials, but I had to experiment and see what worked and combine bits of one tutorial with bits of another tutorial. And that's how it was for me.
Yeah, I checked your website and I really love how to use the CSS animation, and that was actually great. Like to see, like, the different part of the slider, for example, when they change the text, and you will show it to everyone else like in a moment. And I wonder, like, what was the idea? Did you come up with the idea, or you maybe watched like a tutorial, or see other pages as well?
I definitely exposed myself to a lot of different tutorials to try and pick up cool ideas and to learn from them. When I was making the sunrise animation, I drew all the pictures for that, and then I found an old tutorial on W3 Schools about how to change between pictures. So I uploaded all the images I had drawn, and I experimented with that W3 Schools tutorial and also with a part of another YouTube tutorial, and kind of blended them together to make my animation. So I think it's useful to not only use one source when you're trying to learn, like look at a range of different methods on how to do things, try and find the best one, try and mix them together. It's a lot of fun.
And I also think being open to, to experiment, like to try like a bit of thing from one tutorial and something else from another source, and try to combine it to the, to the effect that you would like to have. So yeah, it's like a very, very, very nice thing to do as well.
Yes. So do you have any more questions?
Yeah, I have last one question, because at the beginning of the conversation, I mentioned a lot like how happy I am about doing some accessibility work on our pages. And your Coolest Projects video, you mentioned that you try to build your page being accessible as well. And I wonder how you achieve that. Like, what kind of again, like a source of knowledge you followed to to make sure that your page is going to be inclusive for different users.
Well, I tried to use as simple language as possible. Also, on the web page that I put up my video on, I included a transcript for people who might be deaf, for example, and couldn't hear what I was saying. They could read the transcript of my video. And of course, I'm still learning, and I probably wasn't able to implement all the fancy features like navigation with your keyboard and all that. But I would definitely think about that in the future, and you have given me some ideas now.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's about that learning, right?
And and I spotted that you were using like a different heading semantic. So on the top of the page, you're using H1, which is for the like a main title of the page, and then you are using like a H2, which is for the like a text with like a lower meaning than the H1. So it's something that is accessibility, part of the accessibility as well, like to be able to use a proper HTML tags, because then the browser that is rendering our content, it's actually giving extra meaning to users, for example, and for the browser engines as well. So I think you did a great job as well already.
Yes, so like I suppose some people use automatic readers, like robot readers who read out the text on screen. Would the H1 and H2, would that be important so that the robot would know what to read?
Yeah,
I don't
it's very important.
about that kind of thing, but I have a vague idea, I think. Yes.
Yeah, that's a very, very important thing, like to be able to use like a proper semantic HTML, like the structure of the content itself is very important. So the HTML5, it has like a different kind of tags that you can use. So when you use like a proper tag, for example, to say, okay, this is the paragraph, so I will put extra text to it. So it's easier for users to actually understand what exactly it's going to be, and also to display it properly, also for screen readers, and to using a keyboard as well instead of a mouse. So yeah, it's actually very, very important to be able to use like a proper HTML tags.
So the tags are the parts that sort of describe what the different parts of the web page are, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah. So you can have like a tag, for example, when you want to display an image, or when you want to display a link, or you want to put some kind of content like a copy. So then you use like a different kind of tags to let the browser understand what exactly how exactly render the content that it's inside.
Right. Yeah. Cool.
Oh yes. Perfect.
Yeah.
So that's how I was trying to make my website as easy to use as possible, I suppose, and not cluttered or not hard to read using complicated words or anything. Because I was bearing in mind that if I release this website to the public, that's a lot of, like as you said, 20% of people might have a difficulty using it. So that's an important thing to bear in mind.
Yeah. We've been talking a lot about your site. Oh, I'm hearing an echo. Sorry. We've been talking a lot about your site, Fiona. Mr. C, could you pull up your screen and we can show it? I think it'd be great for folks to see this awesome website.
I'd say, will I show up my screen ideally, because then I'll be able to navigate between the pages. Will I put up my screen instead? Would that be okay?
Yeah, go ahead. Let us know when your screen is ready.
So this is my home page. Are you seeing it? Yes? Is my screen sharing correctly? So this is the home page. And my page is all about being calm and relaxed on the internet. So as you can see, I have some information on the home page. And there's several other pages. I'll show you a couple of the more interesting pages. So here, we'll just wait for it to load up. So here I have a page all about sunrises. So you can watch this sunrise animation and you can meditate while doing it and let go of your thoughts and be mindful and just pay attention to the sunrise and try and forget about your other thoughts, because a sunrise is a symbol of hope. And you can also do this with a real sunrise if you were willing to wake up early enough in the morning, that is. But for everyone else, I think this is a good one. So I drew all the frames of the animation myself, and then I played them in order. So that's how I made that.
Yeah. Fiona, how were you introduced to meditation and mindfulness? I'm curious how that wasn't something I was learning when I was a middle school student. It was only something I was introduced to really as an adult and thinking about how to support my own students. Where was that influence from?
Well, in my secondary school, we do a bit of meditation sometimes, and in my primary school too. And I had also gotten a book out from the library. It was a very good book. It was called Practical Mindfulness, I think. And I was reading that, and it was full of great ideas. And I thought how useful this could be to stay calm. And it just sort of went from there. I started making my website. And I think what I came up with was pretty cool. And as you can see, there are different pages all about relating to that topic of mindfulness. So if you could share my screen, I have activities. For example, a stress ball, which you can hit with your mouse if you're feeling angry, rather than punching someone in the face. I think it's a nicer way. And also a breathing exercise where you breathe along in time with the growing and shrinking circle, and also some soothing music also on this circle. So those were some of the pages from my website. There's also more pages. For example, there's a page where you can put in your worries. If you have worries, like you might be worried about exams, and you would add that item to the list. And then school, for example, might be another worry. And then when you have relieved your worries, you would just click them away with your mouse, and the list would shrink. So I think those were some neat ideas that I was trying to put together. I think someone is asking me, am I a Buddhist? No, I'm not. I'm not a Buddhist, but I think that everyone can use mindfulness no matter what their religion is, because it's not really a religious thing. It's just a way to feel calm. Mm-hmm. And of course, it originated with Buddhists, but everyone can use it, I think.
Yeah. So it was neat to see, Fiona, that you added in the input box, because I had watched your Coolest Projects video over the summer, and that was something you had wanted to add that you didn't have yet. So that's really cool to see that. And also I want to celebrate you. You were featured as one of like Eben Upton's favorite projects for Coolest Projects.
Oh yes, I was delighted when I got that notification. And I think it's great to be chosen, because I don't know, all these people who get to see my work, I'm very flattered, especially Eben Upton. I researched him, all right, and he seems to be quite a prominent figure. So I was delighted anyway, just to be chosen.
Yeah. You should be. Like, you've made a really neat resource for young people. Oh, look, yeah, Dolores is saying she's going to send this out to her granddaughter.
Well, I'm at the moment, my website is on CodePen. So if you look up my username on CodePen, Blue Lion 7. I think it's Blue Lion 7, isn't it? Sorry.
Or here's the link that we have, so folks can get
Blue Lion 7. You can find all the pages individually, and you can go into them.
Yeah, and so check out this link here, and you can use it to get to Fiona's site.
If you can look up Blue Lion 7. Sorry.
Oh, don't worry.
If you can, no. Have I typed it in wrong? Sorry.
Should all be one word, shouldn't it, for your username?
Oh yeah, whoops. If you key in Blue Lion 7, then you can find the pages. So here's the home page. Here's some embarrassing old stuff that I should probably delete. Here's the mindfulness page. You can go into all these pages. There might be a bit of difficulty accessing them all from the home page at the moment, unless you're a pro. I know CodePen always wants you to be a pro, but but you can go into them individually here anyway. If you just look up my username on codepen.io, go into codepen.io and look up Blue Lion 7, and then you can use all these resources. Of course, I would love to have my website go up on the internet on a server, but I don't know if that's possible right now.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, it would be great.
Yeah. I love that. I'm gonna send it to my brother too. I think I just saw someone mention just that they try and watch like the sunrise every day, and it is such a powerful thing to be able to see clear skies. I think it's something we take for gratitude. I know personally, like my brother's in California and he's navigating the fires. He's safe, but it's incredibly smoky. So he's not seeing clear skies right now. He's not able to see the sunrise because they're having to deal with the smoke. So I appreciate like you making the animation, which is really neat. We've got a question.
Ali is saying, what platform do I use to write my code? So I use codepen.io to write my code. It's free unless you want the pro membership. And you can write in your code, and there's 3 separate sections for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So you can put in some script here, and then you can create your website, and it shows up, sorry, wrong screen. It shows up down at the bottom as a website. So I will be doing that with Mr. C now in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll probably get to see CodePen in action anyway. And thanks for your question, Ali.
Cool.
So
Yeah, shall we teach Mr. C some HTML? By we, I mean you.
Yeah.
okay. Oh dear. So
All right. Do you want me to open? Should I open a blank pen? Do you want a blank one?
yeah, just open up a blank pen. I'd say, will I share my screen so that everyone can see what I'm doing the proper way, as opposed to.
I don't mind. It's up to you. We can see it. We can see the pro do it. Everyone can laugh at my fails as we go ahead. That's totally fine.
Yeah, we can switch between the two. So we can start with.
If you have a problem, then you can show up your screen to me and I'll correct it. But I'm sure you'll get along, Grace. I'm sure you're not as bad at this as you pretend to be. But
that's great. That makes me feel better. That's a good vote of confidence.
yeah, I'm
Right.
becoming a motivational speaker as
Yes,
well
good.
as a programmer.
I love it.
Okay.
I'm inspired, Fiona. You can motivate me anyway.
Can you all see my screen? So this is. So you can make, Mr. C, you can make your website about whatever you like. I'm going to make my website about mindfulness, okay? Because that ties in with the theme of my website. So the first thing we're going to have to do is put in some nice HTML tags if you're watching along with me. We need an opening tag, which says HTML between 2 angle brackets, is that what they're called? And then another one which is the same thing but with a slash to close it off. So if you're watching along at home, pay attention. So that's what's going to enclose all of our code. If you were doing this on anything else but CodePen, you would put in a thing at the top which says doc type HTML, but if you're doing it on CodePen, you don't need that because it already knows it's HTML because it's being written into the HTML section of CodePen, if you know what I mean, this section. So, will we get going? I think we will. So, we're going to need some head tags. And inside the head tags is everything that doesn't show up on our website. It's just hidden behind the scenes. So, we're going to put a title on this page in between 2 title tags. Am I going too fast or am I going at the right pace?
I'm keeping up. I think I'm pretty sure I'm doing okay. Do we need
Okay.
to have tabs between? So they tab in, don't they? It automatically sort of does that, which is cool.
Yeah, CodePen does that for you, and you can always press down on the small down arrow and press Format HTML, and it'll tidy it all up for you. So what do you want to call your website, Mr. C? What would you like to make your website about?
My website is going to be about toast because I love toast.
Toast, great choice. That's actually the best idea I've ever heard for a website.
Kevin would love that idea. He's a big fan of
Very
it.
creative. So, mindfulness, I'm going to call my website. Sounds a bit less tasty than toast, but we're going to need a body section also. That's where all the nice stuff is going to show up on our website. All the colors and all the text is going to show up inside the body tag. Okay, so you're going to write all your code. So right now we have a very boring looking white screen. And I'm sure you're still saying Mr. C. So are you ready to get going with the nice stuff? So I think what we're going to do. So show me? Okay.
All good.
Are you sharing your screen right
No,
now?
I'm good. You carry on.
Okay, so I'm going to make a H1 tag. And what a H1 tag is it's a nice big heading. So a H1 tag, you can write inside that whatever the heading of your website should be. So I'm going to write in practical meditation, for example, because that's what I want to talk about on my website. You could write in toast is delicious, or I don't know. So
that's cool. It like makes it happen. So just to clarify one thing. So H1 is a heading.
Yes, H1 is the biggest, most major heading that you can have.
I see. And then so how do you make them less major going on from there?
So if you want a subheading,
you
would write H2, close off H2.
Yeah.
In there you would put a minor heading like how to ace mindfulness. I don't know what am I writing, but and that would come up underneath your bigger heading. Well, you can also resize them in CSS later, but for now we're just going to write two nice headings. And I think the next job we should probably do is include a paragraph. So to make a paragraph, you write P inside the angle brackets, close that off. And inside there, you write whatever you want to be on your paragraph. So I'm just going to copy and paste over what I had written in the website I made earlier. So what I had written was this.
I think it's such a good point. Folks do that all the time, right, Fiona? Like when someone's building a website, they'll copy previous code. They'll copy previous copy.
Yes, like I had this one made earlier. I'm like a TV chef. I had one made earlier, so I can refer back to that and copy over that. And now you can see I have a nice paragraph. It's a little bit small though, but the writing is a little small. We can maybe get onto some CSS in a minute if we have time. But now I think, so Mr. C, how are you getting on there? Toast is the bomb. One person first already said cook it again. Genius. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. So your website is coming along well. So this is what I have written so far. A bit less exciting maybe, but it gets the point across. So now I think the next thing we should do is include a nice list. So for you, Mr. C, it might be a list of all the amazing things about toast. For me, it might be some mindful exercises you can do. So what we're going to do is OL, and that stands for ordered list, which means a list with numbers on it. OL, and close that off. Now we're going to need some items in our list. So we're going to go LI, and close that off again, LI, and this is inside in the OL. And the first item on my list is going to be mindful eating. Because mindful, I keep leaving out the D, why is that? Mindful eating is basically when you eat your food and you don't just swallow it without tasting it. You really enjoy the flavors.
You're making me hungry, both of you. Mindful eating toast.
Yes, you can mindfully eat some toast. I didn't realize that our websites were fitting together so well. But so I'm going to make 3 items in my list. So to make another item, I create another LI and close off the LI, list item LI. And in this one, I'm going to go mindful exercise. So whether you're like going for a run and feeling the air around you and really enjoying being out for a run and not just forgetting about just paying attention in the moment. And when you're out for a run, I think or a walk, it can be a great opportunity to let go and have a peaceful time. So anyway, before I get too caught up in that, let's create our last list item. And in there, let me just refer back to what I had in my previous website. Mindfully sweeping up leaves is a great exercise, actually, which I found out about in the book I had before. So mindfully sweeping leaves.
Magna, how is this for you, getting to just watch the code happen versus having to create it yourself?
It's like they work watching someone type code on a screen, so it's like a pair programming right now. So it's great.
Yeah.
And as you can see, my list items have come up with nice numbers next to them because I created an ordered list. If you wanted bullet points, you would go UL instead of OL. So UL. And your list would have bullet points instead. So
I like that formatting.
and also, so Mr. C, let's have a look at how you're getting along.
Let's change my list. I like it being an unordered list. Yeah, that's better. I like the bullet points more, so I've just changed that.
So delicious, simple to make. I can't read that bit, sorry.
It says vehicle for Vegemite. It's like an excuse to eat Vegemite on toast. So it's like
I've never had Vegemite.
never.
I never had Vegemite as well.
It's the best. I'll bring some into the office. It's the bomb.
Well, we can all be together again. I have so much to look forward to.
Smells.
That's awesome.
Okay, so I have just put mindful eating, mindful exercise, and mindfully sweeping leaves. And maybe I should like put a heading on my list also because it's just kind of a list plunked there. So
Yeah, I had a guess and put H3 to make like the next heading down. I guess that's right? If I wanted smaller, it could go
yes,
H4.
that is absolutely.
How far
That is
does
absolutely
it
right.
But how
Once
far
you know what the basics in coding, you can kind of figure out a lot of other things by yourself. So I'm going to put in.
So Fiona, what's the smallest number heading I can make?
I think it goes down as far as H6. Am I right? I never use heading small.
Yep,
I might be
H6.
wrong. I always like big, major headings. I never put too many headings because I normally make quite short web pages.
I really like how it adds the close tag for me when I change the top tag. So I changed that open tag H3. If I change it to like H4, it automatically changes my close tag as well. That's super handy.
Yeah, CodePen is great. So I'm just going to fill in here mindful activities to my H3 tag. And as you can see now, hopefully, yeah. So that just puts a little heading on my list. So would you like to add an image to make things a bit more interesting?
Definitely.
You're going to have to find an image of toast. Shouldn't be too difficult. And I am going to use an image of someone mindfully sweeping up the leaves. And so sweeping up leaves is quite an old meditation practice. It's been going on for a long time, that people would sweep up leaves and listen to the crunching leaves. And it's also a great way to tidy up your yard. So it's like a double bonus. So I will go. So how to add an image? You put in an image tag. So image. Then you have to type SRC, which stands for source, equals. And then in inverted commas, you put in the source of your image, basically where the image is coming from. So if I wanted an image of toast, I'm just going to do this for Mr. C, right? I'm just going to do this for Mr. C. I really didn't want women's clothes. No.
So let's see what Mr. C's doing. Oh, he's got it.
Yes, Mr. C has this under control. Okay.
You would find that image of toast.
How do I make it smaller? How do I make the image smaller, Fiona? It's too big.
Amazing question. So for that, I think we are going to go over to our CSS section and we're going to type IMG. Wait, no, what? Sorry, let me just fix something over here. I shouldn't have put that. I should have put that. But we're going over to our CSS section. We're typing IMG and some curly brackets. And inside in these curly brackets, we're going to give some instructions for what we want our image to look like. So if you want your image to be 100 pixels tall, you would type height colon 100 px semicolon. And now my image has shrunken itself to 100 pixels. So is that working for you, Mr. C?
Yeah, it's way better.
That's a nice handy size. Now I think we can cope with a miniature slice of toast.
Yeah, that's
It
better.
was a bit big before, it was kind of taking over your website page. But if you wanted to make your website a bit less boring, see, this is all very white and blank looking. So if you wanted a nice background color, you would probably type body with the curly brackets, and then you would pick a background color. You would type background hyphen color, the American spelling of color. For all the non-Americans out here, you just have to remember to leave out the U out of color, or else the computer won't understand you. And then you pick a nice color, for example, yellow. Let's see how that looks. Very nice and bright. So if Mr. C could now pick a color. So very nice brown, appropriate for your subject,
That's
I
what I
must
thought,
say.
yeah.
So now we have done a little bit of CSS and also HTML. I think we could decorate our image a little bit. I think having an image planked there isn't the best look. So maybe we could put a border around it. So if you want to make an image with a border, I'm just going to refer back to the one that I made before so I can just show you all before I do it. So my image is here, and you write border. This is a little trickier than the other instructions we have put before. So border, colon, then you pick. So like border, we'll say 4px, that will be the width of our border. 4px dotted white. And that's if we want a white dotted border. Maybe make it a little bit thicker, it's not very visible. And if you wanted a different sort of border, you could also say solid white or solid orange, for example. And that would give you a different result every time. Or dashed orange. I particularly like the dashed border. So I think, yes, that's a very good look now. Let's see what Mr. C has got. Nice one.
Ooh.
Yes, and not all colors. You don't have the option of getting every single color on CSS, but if you want to find out about more colors, you can go to W3 Schools, and they have some great resources for finding different colors that you can include. And also hex codes are a thing that you can use to. So let's just see, color picker. Oh dear.
Yeah.
Color.
I love that you're showing how to find the colors right now, Fiona. Because like Magda said earlier, you don't have to memorize it all. Like sometimes you just Google what
Like,
you
no
need.
one could possibly know all the hex codes to all the colors. Well, like if they could, I'm impressed. Okay, kudos to you. But say if I wanted a nice darker red, I would just find this hashtag 990000, and I would copy and paste that. And instead of having orange, I would have that dark red color right there.
Right on.
So
So you can use the hex code or the names. So do they all have standardized names as well? Like there are certain colors that have like a name, like teal and stuff. Like I was just messing around and guessing. But
like you probably like this colors such as goldenrod, strange name, yes, you can have goldenrod, but some colors aren't included. Like if I say now light purple, I don't think there's an option for light purple, or is there?
Let's find out.
No, there's no option for light purple. It just registers it as white because the computer doesn't understand what light purple is. So I think that's really dumb because they have light gray, so why not light purple? But anyway, that's not really that much of an issue. So we're just going to keep it at yellow for the moment because I like that yellow color. So is there anything else you'd like to do? Maybe we could make the writing in this paragraph a bit bigger because like Magda was saying, it's important that everything is accessible. And if your writing isn't easy to read, that's probably not very good for someone with poor eyesight, for example. So we're going to enlarge that writing a little bit by typing P, standing for paragraph, P, curly brackets, font size, with a hyphen in font size, we're going to go with 14 PT. PT is just a way of measuring the size of the font. And as you can see, our writing has gotten a bit bigger. And also in our, are you keeping up with me there, Mr. C?
I sure am. I'm even having a few guesses at something I think might work.
Of course, yes, that's the thing about coding. Once you know the basics, you can kind of figure out things with your own. Oh yes, someone is helpfully pointing out that you're missing a lot of semicolons over there, Mr. C.
Am I? Do I have to put semicolons on the end of like everything, do I?
Yep.
You have to put semicolons on the end of everything. So no, not in HTML, only in CSS. So
Yeah, and CodePen itself is very forgiving, so it's going to render the code even if you are dropping semicolons, but in a real life it will just crash.
Sure,
if we're doing it on a different platform, like for example, I suppose Notepad, it doesn't know what you're doing. It just gets confused and doesn't register your code.
So is that the right way to change the color of my text? Because it doesn't seem to be. Is that the wrong? I must have done something wrong, yeah.
No.
Or maybe it is, and I just can't tell. Hang on.
You don't type font color, you just type color. You just type color, you leave out font color. Nice try though, in fairness, that would make sense.
Yeah, I think that's a good guess.
But the problem with coding is that it doesn't always make sense. I know, like, for example, one of the big inconsistencies with coding is that the color dark gray is actually lighter than the color gray. If you want to make something dark gray and then you make something gray, the color dark gray is lighter than the color gray. I mean, how does that make sense? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's true, that dark gray is much lighter than normal gray. So not everything in coding is logical.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to make my unordered list. I'm going to make the font bigger. So I'm going to make font size 14 PT. And if I want to make it a different color, I just say color dark green. Is that going to work now? That didn't work. Is dark green, or is it what? Sorry.
It might be so dark that it looks like just regular black font.
I mistyped. I forgot to hit down on my shift button, I think. Or I hit the wrong button. I typed a normal bracket instead of a curly bracket. See, that's the thing with coding. You can sometimes type the wrong thing and it just comes up completely wrong. So you must remember to use always curly brackets and not the regular type of brackets, because that's what I just did. I hit the wrong button. So as you can see, my list has now turned itself green. So I think that's very nice now. If there's anything else you would like to add, Mr. C, just ask me. Can we add whatever?
I've just been kind of guessing. So I'm figuring that like one thing I've worked out is that whatever I put in as the tag in my HTML, I can set in CSS as being, I'm guessing that's a class in CSS. And then it pulls it through as whatever I'm setting up. Is that right?
Not really. it's not really a class, but it's just referring back to, oh, that's a nice comment that someone has just put up. But it's just referring back to what you've written over on your HTML. A class is something different. I don't really want to get into classes and IDs at the moment because
it's a bit
this is
soon
kind
for me,
of a beginner tutorial, but obviously Mr. C knows it all already. So I'm just for those following on at home, a class is, for example, if I wanted to distinguish one paragraph from another, I would give each paragraph a different class. And to do here in my thing, I have put in class equals, and then I gave it a name, okay? And then instead of using P to refer over to it on this side, I use the word link, okay?
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I see how you've done
And
that.
you have to put a full stop before you have to go dot link, okay? So
Right.
if I wanted to give this paragraph a class equals cool paragraph. And then over here, I would replace the letter P with dot cool paragraph.
Oh.
Oh, sorry, I
Yeah,
mistyped that
yeah,
again.
I get it.
And then it would just be the exact same job.
Right on.
It's just that you have to let your CSS know what it's supposed to be changing. You have to let your CSS and your HTML link together by using these tags. So if you write H2 over here, you're going to have to write H2 over here when you're styling your heading. I hope this makes sense, by the way.
Yeah, it was great. That was really, really handy.
But of course, there are some great resources out there if you didn't understand what I was saying in this tutorial. For example, W3 Schools. I'm sure Raspberry Pi has tutorials on their own website.
Yeah. If you go to projects.raspberrypi.org, you can actually sort our projects and find some HTML projects. And this week, it was really neat for me personally. I'm not an expert at HTML, but I knew a lot of what you were talking about, Fiona, because I've been playing around with HTML on our projects. And this week, we have a code along video, specifically how to make, fun fact, a sunrise animation. It worked out really well. So if you go to projects.raspberrypi.org, you can check out our HTML projects. And this week's code along video, if you go to rpf.io/home, you can create a sunrise animation as well using HTML and CSS and make something cool that you can add to a website, just like Fiona.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yes.
Thanks, Fiona. That was really cool.
It was really fun.
I really enjoyed working on CodePen and having it change straight away. I think that's for me, and I think taking that into the classroom further, if I was going to have some kids do some basic HTML, I think that instant update is really nice. So you're not it just does it for you, and that's really cool. I've never used CodePen before.
Could we have a look at Mr. C's finished website if you would go into mode of CodePen?
Yeah, cool. Is there a way that I can view it as a full web page? Or
Pull down your website a second. Just pull it down to the bottom of the screen, right? And now click on Change View up the top left, right.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Oh well, it's not giving you the option of full screen at the moment. I don't know. That's CodePen's fault.
Oh well.
Sorry about that glitch.
Oh, that's all right. That's
But anyway, you should be able to change your view to debug mode. I don't know why it's doing that. Sorry, Mr. T.
Oh, that's all right. Don't stress. That's fine. I just put
But anyway, we can see it there now. So that's looking very nice. I like your evilly grinning toast. Toast is going to take over the world. That's what that is a total thing.
That was super cool. Thanks, Fiona. That was really good. I feel like I've learned quite a lot in a really short period of time.
Thanks for that, Mr. C. I think you did an amazing job, and you were definitely not as bad as you said you were.
Thanks. Yeah, I like to lower the expectations people have of me before I do anything. That way, it looks like I know what I'm talking about half the time. No, that was cool. Thanks, Fiona. That was great.
Thank you so much, Fiona. It was really cool to see. Yeah, and also to Magnet, I think there was a moment earlier when the two of you were just talking about different ways to make sites accessible and talking about how to debug. And it was, for me, it was a really neat moment to see that. So I really appreciate you both sharing and talking about like your experiences. It was really awesome and inspiring, to be honest. Like for me, I really enjoyed it.
And as I said, if I was going too fast in that tutorial, or if you didn't understand anything, just look it up on the internet. There's some great resources out there, definitely. And I think that people can watch this live stream afterwards, can't they?
Definitely.
So you can watch it as many times as you like if you're interested in following along with what me and Mr. C did.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So yes, cool. I think we made 2 very good websites there.
Yeah, really cool. Thanks for coming on again, Fiona. And you too, Magda. Like, it was lovely to have both you guys, and great to get like 2 different web developers' perspectives. It was really cool.
Thank you very much for having us on, for having me on.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for having me as well.
Yeah,
it was a good experience, and thanks for everyone who watched. Also, I think my aunt was watching it, so shout out to her, and shout out to everyone who left nice comments on. Who left nice comments on the video. And if you would like to check out my website, all the different parts of the website, look up Blue Lion 7 on codepen.io. Go into codepen.io and search Blue Lion 7. So, thank you.
Our pleasure. We'll catch you later. See you later, guys.
See ya. Bye-bye. Thank you.
How cool was that? That was so cool.
Happy.
You see my website about toast?
Yeah. Yes. This is such. It's hard to wake up so early on a Wednesday, but these times make it worth it. Fiona and Magda, that was really cool. That was awesome. And I had no idea that we were going to make websites about mindfulness and toast, and I couldn't have asked for anything better. That was really awesome.
Cool. I was quite pleased. I got quite pleased I made a website about toast. I don't know why it just popped into my head, and I thought, toast. I'm into toast. I could go for toast.
You just gotta stay true to your heart. And at that moment, I'm probably gonna make toast later, to be totally honest.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about toast now. We get out of here. I'm gonna go make some toast downstairs.
Yes. Oh man, that was fun. Like, I really am glad I got to join today. This has been cool. Can I come back next time?
Yeah, totally. Don't forget we're changing time next week though. So we're later next week, everybody who's watching. So because we know you're going back to school here in the UK, we're going to move the live stream to a little bit later. It's going to be at 5:30 p.m. BST as of next week for the next month of September, when we're doing all of our look after yourself theme. So we know it's stressful going back after the summer, back to school, back to work, back to all this stuff, and like taking care of yourself is like paramount, right? Yeah. And so a question here. Every Wednesday we're going live. So for the month of September, we will be 5:30 BST. And we heard from our USA family that they also wanted to join in on the live stream fun. So we're going to add in a USA stream. And that is, let me check and make sure I have the right time. That is going to be on Thursdays at 3:30 Pacific time, which is 6:30 East Coast time. So we're really excited. We're going to have 2 streams in September, on Wednesday and on Thursday. So we can't wait for you all to join us, and we'll share more about our theme for the month and how you can get involved. And yeah, this is really neat. And definitely, if you're interested in HTML and CSS, if this video, this stream inspired you, head on over to rpf.io/home. You can check out our projects for this week. You can share your projects. We want to see what you all are making. Yeah, definitely. That's the big one for me. I love when people share their stuff with us and we can see how awesome their interpretation of our things is. Like, that's really cool. Yeah. That's wicked. Awesome. Cool. All right. Was there anything else you wanted to say before we head off? And I think we're good. This was so much fun. I'm energized now after I made a website. Yeah, I know. I'm just like, I want to go make something. Yeah, it's cool. All right. Well, I'll catch you next Wednesday. Yeah, I'll see you next Wednesday. See you all next Wednesday. Thanks for joining us from all over the world. We can't wait to see you all next week. Catch you later, everybody. Bye. Bye.